Welcome to Late Reviews. Today I'm going to talk about Vigilante Diaries from 2016, directed by Christian Sesma. So I record this video as a part of a longer examination of Michael J. White's career. So that's why this video has a focus on Michael J. White in the movie more than it might actually deserve, because he doesn't have a major role in the film. Also, this is not a very in-depth review. I'm discussing some of the qualities of it or the lack of qualities, and will basically give you an idea of whether or not this might be a movie you should watch. That being said, enjoy. So this movie is made by the same guy who made Take Back, and once again the movie looks amazing. It's a very, very good looking movie, at least most of the time. There are very good sets in it, very good scenes, very good settings. I probably didn't even have money for the sets, so they just shot very nice places. So the movie looks good. The cinematography aside, there are some practical effects and special effects that are quite bad, but the cinematography is quite competent. It takes place in multiple locations, and for a fact, they at least traveled to 2 different countries to film it. They might have been to more, I'm not sure, but at least 2 countries to film this movie. And it has a budget of about $1 million. When I found the budget, I thought this would be a $10 million budget movie. I guess the actors were paid in peanuts. I guess that's the only way you can explain it. The only somewhat famous actor in the movie is Michael J. White. Arguably, it also has Jay from Jay and Silent Bob. I wouldn't call him a famous actor, but he's also in it. He's a recognizable face. Where to start? This movie is essentially The Punisher, but we have Punisher at home. Actually, already then, I'm confused. I don't know what he's supposed to be because of a lot of what's being said in the movie. Oh, sorry, the movie also has Michael Madsen. He's just not in a lot of scenes, but it does have Michael Madsen, who is a well-known face, but I think he might have 4 or 5 minutes of screen time at most in this movie. And the movie starts out with Michael Madsen talking about past events, talking about how all this began 10 years ago. And then we are shown what's probably Iraq. Already then we're seeing action that is at first glance competent, but is actually very stupid, and I'll get to White stupid later on. Right now, just talk about the plot. Where these American Special Forces are seemingly double-crossed by Michael J. White, who is one of the villains in the movie. And the movie then fast-forwards several years after the lead character, who is the Punisher, or the Vigilante as he's called in this movie. He has the armor and everything. That's why he's just the Punisher, but they made a different character instead of the Punisher. This is around the time the Punisher TV show came out. So, I mean, I don't think it's a coincidence that they made the Punisher at a time where the Punisher had a revival. And he has taken on the Armenian gang. He has killed the brother of the leader of the Armenian gang, and therefore the Armenian gang is after him. The Vigilante, he is this broken character who only now lives to destroy what he perceives as corrupt and evil elements in society, meaning the Armenian gang. And the Armenian gang, they do manage to kidnap him. They are torturing him. A lot of the movie doesn't really make sense. There's so many babes in the movie, and it's not that I can't tell the babes apart, but it sometimes seems like they did as much as they could just to introduce as many babes as possible, but didn't really give them any reason for what they're doing, how they're acting. They're just all over the place, and the motivation, which is, okay, I'll get to that later because the writing is so awful. It's confusingly awful. And what we then have is the Vigilante. There is this other group of mercenaries that are hired to save him, but they're not so much hired to save Michael J. White, because Michael J. White, he's followed by Jay from Jay and Silent Bob, and he's playing Jay from Jay and Silent Bob, who is the cameraman filming the killings of Michael J. White, so that he can build him a notorious YouTube career. Michael J. White is a vigilante who wants to show his acts to the public, and therefore has a cameraman with him. I don't see that as an impossibility, but it does add some logistical issues that make it all a bit quirky when you think about it. And this guy is kidnapped also by the Armenian gang. And then the father of this guy, who's apparently rich, so this weird guy who is just this loser who's filming Michael J. White, is hiring this mercenary company to save Silent Bob, and in the process also Michael J. White. No, it's not Michael J. White, sorry, but the Vigilante. And the Vigilante then kills people. The leader of the Armenian mafia flees to Armenia, and the rest of the movie is, I don't know how long time passes. Again, nothing is told in this movie. This movie is awful. And the rest of the movie is now taking place in Armenia, where they're hunting down the Armenian gang there. There are a lot of double crossing, a lot of motivation that doesn't make sense. And then after being done in Armenia, they go back and hunt down Michael J. White. Only not really. And the movie ends on a really difficult to understand note. As I said, this is a movie that's difficult to review because so much happens in it, but it's so chaotically and poorly written that it's really difficult to understand what happens and why it happens. What I will give the movie credit for, so I said it was filmed in Armenia. I'm quite sure it's filmed on location in Armenia because I've been to Armenia. I recognize a lot of the places. It really looks real. It looks like, oh yeah, this is the street, this is the opera house. Yes, it has to be the opera house in Armenia. They didn't just superimpose them in the background, right? This is obviously Armenian church. They didn't build that as a set. So I'm quite sure it's filmed in Armenia, and I think it's cool. This might be the first American movie I've seen filmed in Armenia. It does add some quality to it. It actually, I thought for a while that maybe the director was Armenian, because this movie does really try to promote Armenian culture. And I actually think what has been the case is that the Armenian government probably paid the movie a lot of money to serve as an ad for Armenia, because there are some countries that really actually do this. Some of those lesser known countries are investing a lot of money to attract tourism. They're subsidizing movies, or paying movies to be filmed there. They are they're paying like musicians a lot to perform there, lobbying a lot to have events take place there. And that's definitely, I'm very, very sure that's what Armenia did for this movie, because that's what Armenia has done for a lot of people. And maybe also it was bankrolled by rich Armenians, because America has a lot of rich Armenians. There are a lot of reasons why the movie could have such, not just set in Armenia, but such a focus and being a love letter to Armenian culture, even though they're the bad people. And I think that all that is kind of cool. I think it's interesting to see in the movie. Okay, having all that out of the way, I'll start talking about the movie in detail. There's so much to grasp about this movie. At a first glance, the action is cool, but it isn't. It's one of those movies where the protagonists, who are supposedly elite soldiers, are constantly standing upright in the open, shooting without taking cover, and the enemies are either taking cover or also out in the open, also just standing and shooting at them. So you have special forces walking down the street like this, you actually see a scene where it does this, and it looks so stupid. Nobody's shooting it. Like, their special forces don't fucking stand in the open, and there's so many scenes where that happens. Another one where you have a shootout in a parking lot. Protagonist, the vigilante, has a submachine gun that does this, just sweeping the gun back and forth, and for some reason actually hitting things. He's hitting opponents that are hiding behind cars and pillows by doing this action. It's so stupid. It has the worst special forces. The most incompetent special forces I've seen in a movie in a very long time. It's worse than like the commando scene where he's walking around with a heavy machine gun shooting people. This movie is even more stupid than that. I love the scene in Commando, by the way. Don't get me wrong, it's a cool scene, but it's really stupid. This movie is even more stupid. You really have to suspend your disbelief when watching the movie, because all of it is so bad. The first second you realize, oh, actually, this is not how action should work. This is not how people fight. The entire movie falls apart. One thing that also made it completely impossible for me to enjoy it as an action movie is that the enemy is too stupid. At the beginning, they're standing in the open, the enemy is not shooting at them. You see, maybe there are also enemies flanking them. There are maybe 10, 15 enemies pointing their guns at them at the same time. If they are shooting, they are missing, even though these people are out in the open. Why is nobody hitting in the movie? Only the good guys can hit when they need to. Bad guys can't hit people in the open. Where is the suspense? Where's the excitement? When the opposition is so poor that they are rendered useless, there's no excitement in the movie. You can't get immersed in any of the fights because there are no stakes. There are no stakes when the enemy is so incompetent. You really can't have such an incompetent movie in an action movie. Except maybe if you're doing Commando. If it's that type of action movie, which this isn't. This is the Punisher type of action movie. But imagine the Punisher, if anyone he fought in that weren't able to shoot back or weren't able to hurt him in any single way. It's really, really stupid. And not only that, so you have the people who can't take cover and can't shoot him. It's one of those movies where if something is off screen, it's not happening. So for example, there's one scene where he's walking around and you see a guy with a gun, and instead of shooting his gun at him, which he could, he runs at him instead. And then you see another guy where instead of shooting him, he also takes his large gun and runs at him instead. Like, why are these people wanting to beat up the vigilante instead of just shooting him? These are Iraqi insurgents in the scene, or supposedly Iraqi insurgents. Why are they just not shooting him? Why do they want to fist fight a person when they could easily win the fight by shooting him? Even if they want to capture him alive, they could shoot his legs or something. No, this movie is so stupid. The action is so awful in this movie. It's not the only time. Like, it has every single action scene is like this. Every single action scene is people not doing things when they're supposed to. For example, there is one scene where one of the lead protagonists is sneaking up to a guy and then hitting him over the head. And then after hitting him over the head, he shoots him. If you want to shoot him, why didn't you just shoot him? Why do that whole thing? And it has that where someone is waiting to do something just so they can deliver a one-liner that is really bad. The movie is really poorly written. There's not a single funny line of dialogue in the movie, even though they really, really, really try to be funny and quirky and have one-liners. It doesn't have anything that works. Every single shootout is just awful with no tension, because there can't be any tension when you know that there's no threat to any of the protagonists at all in the movie. Maybe the worst scene of all in the movie, there's one point where the vigilante is being shut down by the Armenian crime lord. So remember, the whole reason for him wanting to get rid of the vigilante is because he killed his brother. He really wants the vigilante dead and to suffer. So what does he do? He has just shot the vigilante, so he's on the ground. He's obviously not dead. What does the main villain do? He leaves. He leaves to flee the country. So he has a gun. He could have walked over, shot the vigilante right in the head. It's over. The movie is over. But no, this is a movie that's so poorly written and wrote itself into a corner where the villain could have won. The villain could have won some 45 minutes into the movie, but he didn't, because he chose not to kill the main protagonist, even though he could. This is how bad the movie is. This movie is really bad. Every single decision is bad. I could get into way more detail because, as I said, every single thing about this movie is bad, aside from how it looks. I think the last thing I'll focus on is just how stupid it is in Armenia. The vigilante's girlfriend has been kidnapped by the Armenian crime lord, so they have to chase him down and not kill him because they need to know where he's holding her. So there's a scene shot in the streets of Yerevan, the capital of Armenia, where they're having a car chase. Also, what I will tell you, the streets of Yerevan at night are packed. This is not even late in the evening. This is why there's still an opera or theatrical performance going on, so it might be, 8, 9, 10 p.m. Yerevan has a very Middle Eastern or Mediterranean feeling to it. The streets are packed with people. There are constant cars. You cannot just drive around. The streets are not empty. They are full of cars. I mean, of course, this is just suspend your disbelief. I can buy that, but to me, that's just something that really bothered me a bit, because it really doesn't portray Yerevan in any realistic light. Anyway, there's this car chase through Yerevan. He has to catch the evil guy and interrogate him to realize where he's keeping the girlfriend. And then what happens? He ends up crashing the car. The bad guy ends up crashing the car. The lead guy goes up to him. And as the bad guy's about to die from his car injuries, the vigilante asks him, "So where is my girlfriend?" He looks to his side in an alley. And out of that alley comes his girlfriend. The girlfriend who managed to escape on her own. Yerevan is a big city. Not only is it a big city with around 1 million people living there, but the geography of the city actually means it's very poorly connected. It has a lot of mountains. You can't easily get from one part of the city to another. So the pure luck of just happening to be at that one part of the city where the car crashes, where the girlfriend is also at. It's not even a coincidence. It's a divine intervention. It's so stupid. I can't, even if you were somewhat immersed in the movie until this point, anyone who's seen this must think it's stupid. How can you see that scene and think, oh, that's actually clever? It's actually clever that there was a car accident right where the girlfriend happened to be. I really want to yell right now because the movie is so bad. I have neighbors, so I'll not yell, but the movie is just awful. Even though I said it's mostly good to look at, it's just so incompetent. Even a polished turd or a turd shot in a nice way doesn't mean it's no longer a turd. Because yes, this movie is pure garbage. This is an abomination. This is Samurai Cop shot in a better way. I mean, this is really bad. I'm astonished at how incompetent this can be. I know I just said that Freaky Deaky is one of the worst movies I've seen in a while. Vigilante Diaries is also one of the worst movies I've seen in a while. They're both really frustratingly bad. Even though I said Take Back, it's not a good movie. It's not that frustrating. Take Back, for as boring as it is, it's still much better than Vigilante Diaries, because Vigilante Diaries is just all over the place in its stupidity. I'll move on because just don't watch this movie. Michael J. White's performance is the best part of the movie, but it's not good. I mean, it's okay, but the movie doesn't give him anything proper to do other than torture some people. It's not a good movie. It's really bad. So this is where I will end the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you find it a bit insightful. I hope I gave you a good idea if this is a movie you want to watch or not. You can of course subscribe or check out what I'm doing here to see other videos I upload, or to check out my other Michael J. White videos if that's something you might be interested in. But yeah, that's it. Bye.